but he also had insisted that he was right and had evidence that 2 planes that had been in the country in announced or within a period of announced date apparently were carrying contraband goods, laundered money, as well as huge kilograms of cocaine. Sharply disputed by government communications, Felix Kwachofosu leading the charge, and said that, well, apart from providing evidence, he also was being invited or should make himself available. And we know how the story, as well as what the telltale has been so far and where we are currently. It led to that incident yesterday. But we're here today to follow through and further expand the conversation. In the Fourth Republic, really, I mean, apart from all the immunity and privileges and prosecution or not of members of parliament, what has been the history? We'll recall some recent events for you where key members of parliament had been at the receiving end of security forces, some being brutalized, others being heckled, attempted arrest, etc., some being taken to court. And what has the question? Do those incidents not amount to abuse of rights of members of parliament? But is any parliamentary member at all, that is a member of parliament, immune to prosecution, etc.? So that's those key questions, all right? We have some critical people. Rafiq Salam works with the multimedia group, great friend of mine. He's celebrating his birthday today, so Rafiq Salam, wish you all the best for the day as well. And we also have a couple of you, so we're grateful that you've joined us. Let me just introduce our guests for the morning. Star 439 hash is a short code for cash out. Choose option 2, increase the number of tickets, and then increase the number of times that you have to choose those tickets and become one of those glorious winners. Mind you, lucky glorious winners of each time we do the draws on cash out. Good morning to you, Estelle Draw with Smart Shipping. I invite you to cash out with us. Security expert and consultant has worked with the BNI as well as other investigative bodies in our country. Richard Kumado is joining us on the stream. Good morning to you, Mr. Richard Kumado.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah. Okay, Saminya. Okay. Well, and then we also have here Dr. Susan Eduamankwa. And she is a scientist in her own right, pharmacist by profession, also has reached the pinnacle of her career, contributing to national discourse as well. She's also here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, I had to go through traffic. Or no traffic today?
I left quite early, so the traffic was cool.
Charlie, old school people are always on time. Also joining old school, even though she's not old school, always on time, is Amma Pratt, the spokesperson for the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opokwajiman, or Nana Jane Opokwajiman.
Nana Jane.
Yeah.
Nana
Jane.
Jane.
Enjoy. All right. Welcome. I haven't hosted you before, have I?
No.
Great to see you. I always watch you on Pan-African TV, so it's great to see you here once again.
I'm very happy to be seated here this
morning. All right. Well, so we'll have some great conversations, but you know, let me just say how that. Let's do a recollection, because this is what the minority leader, Alex Aponyo-Makin, had to say about the incident yesterday when armed men from national security stormed the house of the Member of Parliament for Asin South, the Reverend John Ntimfojo.
Armed men, you know, about 20 of them. We don't need it. If you disagree, you disagree. In any event, the caucus is calling for a bipartisan inquiry into this matter. We should be able to judge all. But, well, they have de-escalated, they've left, they've gone back to wherever they came from. We want to assure the government that we will cooperate if they approach things in a decent manner. Absolutely. But we will not be intimidated. Let's engage. We are political actors. Let's assure the people that we are ready to uphold the promises of the Constitution and democracy. This must stop.
And just to apprise you, we know that that constitution he's mentioning has inherent in there in Article 115, indicating that there shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament, and that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. It continues in 116(1), subject to the provisions of that article, that without any prejudice to the general effect of 115, civil or criminal proceedings shall not be instituted against a member of Parliament in any court or place out of Parliament for any matter or thing brought by him in or before Parliament by petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. All right. But for all the things we have to say, also inherent in Article 116 are some key provisions as well. Does it protect members of Parliament to make comments, allegations, commit acts and omissions? Because we've had in recent history a number of actions that have been undertaken. All right. And so, well, for all the things we have to talk about, I think what comes to mind greatly will be the brutality that was meted out. Indeed, I was in the middle. I took that video, really. I was West Wogon, where everybody ran away and we had armed national security personnel slapping a member of Parliament. We'll recall that content for you. Here it is. Sam George. Well, so when we're ready with those insets, we'll record them for you. But Amma Pratt, what's the, since the incident yesterday, the line of communication at the presidency and then in government?
Well, I mean, I'm observing all of this, you know, like you are, Roland. I'm watching this drama, you know, unfold like every other Ghanaian, and honestly, I'm in disbelief, you know, by the way things are going. I just heard, you know, the Honorable Afenyo Markins, and I haven't seen this video. I'm watching this video for the first time. Say that they want to uphold truth and democracy. I mean, that's what what he just said, right? They want to uphold truth and democracy. Well, would they please just do that? Would they please just uphold truth and democracy, right? You've made such damning allegations against the government and, by extension, the state. And I get very uneasy when people say, oh, he just sort of brought it out. Then no, he didn't. It wasn't questions that he raised. No, that's not what he did. He made a very categorical, you know, statement that he has chosen to back continuously since he made the first one. I mean, so after the press conference, he could have backtracked when it was pointed out to him the gravity of what he had just done. He could have quickly done that. I think he did in a way because then he took it to Parliament now asking for explanation. But his personal utterances, you know, and the posturing of the MPP as a political party and as a caucus in Parliament could have shown us a certain responsibility that, okay, we may have made a blunder, you know, in our choice of words and in the way that we chose to express when we called the press conference. But upon hindsight, you know, let's temper, you know, the politics with responsibility and be responsible lawmakers. But no, go and read his tweets since then. Every tweet the Reverend Intim Fojo has made since this is cocaine buying, cocaine spokesperson, cocaine.
So what's your point? That is just mere politicking?
I'm not even there yet. My point is that when you do that, it's not a question of allegation. It's not a question of questions. When you categorically insist that a government and a whole country is involved in drug trafficking and money laundering, and you have somebody, it goes as far as His Excellency, the President of the country, come and say, oh, wow, I need all of the state investigative agencies to collaborate with you so we get to the truth of this matter. That he has zero tolerance for drug trafficking and for money laundering. He says he wouldn't even allow for Ghana to be a transit point. Not the end recipients of the cocaine and the money laundering activities, even as a transit point. He doesn't want Ghana even as a transit point. So please, all investigative bodies collaborate with a member of parliament, the lawmaker, legislator, and let's get to the bottom of this. You want to uphold truth and democracy. Investigative bodies have come to you. Let's go and uphold truth and democracy. And you hold a press conference shielded by your fellow MPs, and you say, no, we will not collaborate, but we want to uphold truth and democracy. Are we going to do this spiritually? This holding of truth and democracy,
he should have appealed himself.
Is it going to be done spiritually? Are we going to do it telepathically?
The response they had at the time is that there are processes and procedures if you want to invite a member of parliament to come and then give evidence or collaborate with state agencies in this vexed matter.
Okay. Did he know that when he called the press conference? Did he know about processes? Did he know about processes and procedures in dealing with these matters? When he called a press conference, when subsequent to that, he started announcing exposés. Come with me to this studio for exposé number 1, exposé number 2, Did he know about processes? And you see, the MPP needs to understand, right, that yes, opposition is important. I will never sit here and speak about a government that has no opposition. Ghana will not benefit from a situation like that. Opposition is important. We need a responsible opposition to keep this government on its toes, to check all of us, to keep all of us, you know, acting responsibly, being accountable to the people of this country. But you see, an irresponsible opposition is a danger. It's a danger to this country. Look at the conversation we are having this morning. Look at the publicity, the light we are shining on ourselves as a country. Does the MPP understand the implications of what is happening? You're not accusing an individual of cocaine. You are accusing a whole state, the whole state apparatus, you know, and for what? So that you can have your moments under the lights, so that you can have your moments of glory, of exposés, of jama'ing, if there's anything like that. You know, where you rabble-rouse your people to your house and you call press conferences and you sing and you... Listen. It's a new era, and it's so unfortunate that as a political party, they are choosing to go down this rabbit hole. I mean, because all of this will settle, right? We have the proper agencies coming out to explain that we have gone on these aircrafts, we have checked these aircrafts, there's no cocaine on there, no money laundering is involved. You see, for me, and I said this somewhere else yesterday, all of these exposés will end, right? So right now we are Nikki picking. We are saying that, oh, the color of the aircraft in this picture is wrong. It's a different color here. We are saying that, oh, the aircraft did not go through this route. It went through that route. Nitty picking. I'm saying that tomorrow they'll come up with another exposé that says, well, the pilot wore a yellow shirt. He did not wear a brown shirt. And we'll do all of these things. But you see, we will finally get to the point where you have to prove that there was cocaine and money laundering.
It will be done.
All of this will settle
down. You mean
down.
you'll be called before the investigative agencies?
I mean, are we going to leave this hanging? Do you want this left hanging on the conscience of this country? No. As a Ghanaian, I need to see finality to this matter. You can have all the press conferences that you want. You can, but you see, all of this will settle. And then when it settles, what's the MPP going to say about his conduct? Forget the Reverend Tim Fodder. I think for him, he's loving the attention. He's loving all the exposés it's giving him. He's enjoying his moments of glory, which is great. Politicians love that. Good on him. But when the dust settles, where does this leave us? Where is responsible and accountable opposition? Because perhaps the MPP doesn't understand. For me, it's not about winning elections, right? And this has...
He said he's playing his oversight role.
This?
Yeah, he said, well,
this?
he's raised a concern, and so he expects the security agencies to come up with evidence to support, because that's his suspicion.
So tomorrow, as a private citizen, I wake up in the morning, I say, oh, I saw Roland walk into TV3 this morning. Roland must be selling tomatoes in the studio. And then when you ask me for proof, I say, well, Roland, you prove it. I am exercising my duties as a citizen of this country. I'm a whistleblower. I've blown a whistle, right? You give us nothing and say, I've given some facts. You give us essentially nothing. The fact that the plane landed here, nobody's contesting. The fact that, you know, it did not come again, I've said this, to carry out its core function, you know, as an airmail, that's not what it came to do. We've been given credible information as to what happened. The Honorable Felix Kwachofosu has explained exactly what the situation was. Still, you say, no, these are my facts. Now, you, the one that I'm accusing, come and prove it. In which law book do we use the exception to the rule as the rule? Where you the one that's alleging, you are saying, no, I won't prove. You, the one I'm accusing,
well, he says
you come
oversight.
and prove.
He's clothed with the powers to do that.
This is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
All of this is ridiculous.
So, having observed all this, now culminating in that incident at his house yesterday, would you say, or do you think, that the minority and the embattled member of parliament are overly sensationalizing this, or perhaps too much aggrandizing the role that they have to play, and then the effort, so to speak, being the response that they are playing oversight roles in this matter?
Okay. Anyway, good morning.
Morning.
They are politicians, and politicians, or some politicians, are wont to theatrics and everything. But the security agencies have given them the opportunity to do that. So they have been given the platform and they are doing the theatrics. And we are all watching. But as a matter of curiosity, he's a reverend for which church? His own private church?
I think he has his own church also, or Victory.
Okay,
church, yeah.
so
but he's a reverend.
He's a reverend.
Victory Bible Church.
Okay.
I hope not.
Are you a member of Victory Bible Church?
Oh, I mean,
Go and look for it. I'll look for
My
his
uncle's a
assembly.
bishop.
It is his own church.
I
Okay,
hope
that's
not.
fine. I just curiosity.
What's that got to do with? Because
Oh, you're
questioning his character?
Maybe I'm not questioning his character. I mean, I am questioning the posturing. Maybe I have a certain idea of how men of the cloth are supposed to behave in certain ways, and maybe the normal Kev, he's not behaving in the way that you would think that supposedly a man of God should behave. Because I would think, and this is why I think, that if, as he's a ranking member for Defense and Interior, if he found something that is wrong, that goes to tarnish the image of this country, it's not about the politics, but the image of this country, the first thing to do would not to be sit at a press conference and blare things out. You know, he has a certain privileged position of being a member of parliament, of being the ranking member for Defense and Interior. I'm sure that he could always ask to meet the security agencies and say, look, this has come to my attention and it doesn't do well for the image of this country, you know, and maybe do that and nothing happens. Then you can say that, one, I want to take another step to ensure that something happens. Can he tell us for a fact that he took the quiet route of, you know, safeguarding the image of this country? We have a lot of politicians who really don't care about this country. All theirs is to do some grandstanding and, you know, cloak it and make it look.
You think that's what he's doing?
I'm saying my thing. So let me say my thing.
Yes, please.
And let people.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Let people judge for themselves.
Okay, sir.
Whether this is some behavior of somebody who has love for this country and takes a certain action. Because you try certain measures, and if it doesn't work, then you said, look, now I'm going to go public with it because I have tried the quiet way. I have tried to save this country's face and things like that, and I'm not getting the response that is required. So maybe let me go. If he's done that, fine. But has he done that? I don't believe so, because the way he's hopping from station to station, he would have said that, look, I would love for this country and ensuring this, and I quietly went to the security agencies, I said this, and nobody took notice of it, and this has forced me to come out to do what I am doing. None of that. Okay. I've heard him, you know, sometimes borderline trying to accuse even the president, you know, of certain complicity in this thing. And I'm like, wow, really? You know, But you see, we have allowed our politics to degenerate to this point sometimes, you know, and we get the politicians doing their grandstanding and the theatrics, and maybe because we encourage it and we you know, I don't know, it goes on and on and on. And because of that, certain people have just switched off and don't want to even know.
Very apathetic?
Very apathetic.
To the politics of the day?
To the politics of the day. And you look, you can pick 10 Ghanaians off the street and ask them that, so what do you think is happening? What are the current things? And they're like, we don't care. We're going about our normal businesses, because the grandstanding, and we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't allow that to happen. But coming back to
the incident yesterday.
The incident yesterday, I think that the security forces could have also found a better way of going about it. We know that members of parliament have certain privileges. It's not a right, it's a privilege. Okay, they have certain privileges that you have to go through if you want to do that. This person, he's not about to run away. He's a member of parliament. He's not about to run away. We don't need the Gestapo type of thing that went on. Okay, go through the normal process. He's not about to run away. Go through, if you have to go through the speaker, write a letter to the speaker, have to interview him in the speaker's things. Do the things that everybody would also look at you and say, look, they have done it by the book. And because they have done it by the book, and this person, it actually shows up the person if the person is hollow. You get it, because when you go by the book, because when you do incidences like this, then this becomes the topic instead of the person's behavior and the thing that the person is doing. Then this becomes the topic, and then we are like, oh, as security people, da, 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 da. We've had enough of that kind of nonsense. You were looking for the tape.
No, don't worry. I'll recall it for you after.
Yeah, the tape.
Or should you?
No, with this mass.
Please let me record them first so that you can continue.
Okay.
So that said,
I'm not landed yet, but our security agents, that show of brutal force,
bravado.
Yeah, it's
British.
It is British. It is
Gestapo-like.
Gestapo-like. It's unhealthy. It's
revolutionary style.
Those who actually, it's unnecessary. Those who actually have power. Power is quiet and power is silent. And power, you know, is menacing in its silence. Look, if they had done the right thing quietly, and they had actually gone through the procedure quietly, if this man, this member of parliament, given that maybe he is not speaking the truth, I don't know, you understand, it would have been even more fearful for him. He would have even been more afraid, because it would have shown up his character, it would have shown that he's not. This kind of thing, he's going to hide behind it and do more, and probably still be hopping from station. You mean
instead of the substance of what he said, whether it's true or untrue, becoming the subject, this one rather has become the subject.
Has become the subject. Yeah, and then we're going to go off in the tangent, and you find people in the street who are not going to listen to the substance of the matter and are going to go more on the tangent of it. Right now, I'm sure if you pick 10 MPP, what do you call it? Food soldiers or apparatus, they don't even know. They say, oh, we cocaine food be now they're not even going to rationalize it. You understand? So I think that, like we said, power can be menacing when it is silent and when you do it by the book. We should move away from this Gestapo, British, Neanderthal kind of behavior and go to the more subtle, more powerful way of doing things, and do it by the book. You understand? So that nobody has the opportunity to do this kind of grandstanding. You know, some people want to launch their political careers with this. You get it? So that they can say that, oh, when there was a crisis, you saw me and da 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 da.
So all this is grandstanding?
Well, I mean,
outdooring of a Messiah?
That is going to happen. But, and you know, and given that some people say they are men of God, they will probably want to see that they are given a messianic touch and make it look like they are rescuing this country from cocaine dealers, etc., etc. Look, we have a drug problem in this country. Let's not, not even the cocaine thing. We know the drug problem in terms of the red and this thing. So it is something that touches us as a core that we must deal with. Everybody knows that even if it is in transit, some stay. So we don't want that for our youth. And it is a serious matter that needs to be looked at seriously. We don't want the tangential things happening so that we lose sight of the real issue and the core. Some of these things, the red herrings, you know, we don't want that. And it's the responsibilities on all sides. And so for the government side, when you see that people on the other side are behaving, for want of a better word, irresponsibly, you understand, take the responsible route. And when you do that, it will actually show them up for who they are.
Right. Well, members of parliament in this Fourth Republic have been treated in certain way. We've had recent incidents, so to speak. But what really are, as enshrined in the Constitution, those rights and privileges and immunities? Have they been adhered to? But also, just relating that to those incidents, what does it mean? Of course, not particularly related to an arrest, etc. But member of parliament, of course, performing his oversight role, so to speak, in the middle of a by-election, even though he was not contesting. Now was there for that incident, was slapped or brutalized. So this is Sam George, as a first recollection.
You killed a man in his own house. His own house. Who see you guys? Who see you guys? In his own house. Be careful. You kill a man in his own house. That's fine. I should what? I should what?
The next is, as you all will know, Francis Xavier Sosu, the member of parliament for Medina. Before he became a member of parliament, had been a strong human rights lawyer, advocating for people's human rights and making sure he spearheaded doing pro bono cases and advocating for them in the courts. And subsequently, he, I believe, based on objective analysis, was performing his work out of parliament. Well, leading, I don't know whether demonstrators, those who were picketing from his constituents for unpaved roads, bad roads in his constituency, etc. And following that, well, the security or the authorities decided to pick him up. And guess what? Just like was done to Chachu Chikata in a church, that incident again recalled.
When an attempt by police to arrest is unlawful, every Ghanaian, not a parliamentarian, every Ghanaian has a duty and a right to resist that arrest.
But have you been served?
No, I haven't been served.
You haven't been served?
No. Even though I have filed a human rights action pursuant to Article 33 of the 1992 Constitution, enforcing my right to protest. I believe that what police is doing is interfering with my right to freely protest and demonstrate. That's number one. I think that what the police is doing also violates my right to freedom of movement.
You know, one of the vociferous leaders of think tanks in Ghana, Kofi Bentil, known legal practitioner as well, a vice president of Imani Africa, had a lot of responses for, well, all members of parliament who would think, irrespective of who they are, and then also what rights and immunities as enshrined in the Constitution they have, could be arrested or not, or could be prosecuted or made to face the rigors of the law if actions or omissions were committed by them. Kofi Bentil.
To the extent that the police feel the need to invite any member of this society to question them about the probable cause that a crime has been committed or something wrong has been done, that person ought to respond to the police positively. And that person ought to submit to the police processes. And if the police do anything untoward, we would all come and defend that person. It is just not right for any person to assume any kind of immunity that effectively puts them above the law.
So my question to you, Richard Kumado, the style your people used yesterday and what has been exhibited in the incident thereof as recalled in those inserts, well, it should be normal, even if it involves members of parliament. Is that a good question? And should it be the case? Richard Kumado.
Roland, because most of you are media general, you have our senior brothers and junior brothers and bodies, we want media general to rise above all other media houses. This is what I've noticed in recent times. One journalist says somewhere and says something, and all media houses are following suit. When you introduced the topic, you said security agencies, but on your handle, there's something written there, NIB stand up with a member of parliament. So for public education purposes, this is the way it works. If the BNI is looking for you to answer questions relating to crime investigations or you have come under security intelligence interest, number one, they will serve notice. And number two, they will invite you. The serving of the notice and invitation can be done in person or it can be done in any other way possible, which is appropriate. When arrest becomes an option on the table, because the BNI is well managed and the BNI or the NIB knows that the outcome of their exercises can be litigated in court, what they do is that they increase the first line of due diligence. And if they are arresting you without arrest warrant, they come on the certificate of emergency. But at all costs, they will acquire arrest warrant to make sure that you are arrested. Roland, I can tell you, the police, the frontline police officers, or the NIB or the BNI, once they have an arrest warrant, an arrest becomes an option, which means they've crossed all the T's and they dot the I's, and they get into your premises, they will arrest you. And nothing can stop arresting you unless Christ Jesus descends. So what you saw yesterday, in particular reference to the informant or the whistleblower MP, was not an operation from the NIB or the BNI. This is an operation involving all security, most of the security agencies in this country. And even if you see an NIB officer there, they are there on a particular assignment as part of what was happening.
Okay, so Mr. Kumado, so you're saying that...
Let's break it down.
Mr. Kumado, so you're saying the right description is national security, right? Not NIB.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll correct that on the screen.
What we are doing is that we are feeding into the politicians to instigate the NIB, and this is the only institution you have in Ghana standing alone. If we bastard it and we destroy it, the democracy will be doomed. So let's break it down. I can understand the concerns of the minority that don't go to his house because it's a member of parliament without involving us collectively. I can also understand their second point that says that if you want to arrest him, write to the speaker. Then recently you have done the same thing, and A+ and some other people were given the opportunity for you. But this is the way it works. It doesn't work that way. All cases are unique and different. The exigencies of the time are different, and it is not the duty of any politician, particularly the minority, to determine how the security agencies do their work. You have Kofi Bento. Let's stop from there and continue from there. When parliamentarians commit a crime, or they have acted in a way that says that the law enforcement have the ability to question them or interview them on a particular case involving a crime or suspected crime or actual crime or a matter of interest, it do not put any parliamentarian above the law. And I hear people saying that the NIB or the BNI should have acted this way, they should have acted that way. I have done this job for the past 28 years across the globe. I can tell you, many of these people have not investigated any criminal before. They have not questioned anybody in that regard before. And even if the security agencies get it wrong, remember, they have the interests of the state at heart, and they will not do anything, lack of discretion to create any problem. So that is where we are as of today. The informal MP, by the claims he made, saying that he has intelligence and is ready to put it out there, it is just normal and it is just obvious that NACOPS and the BNI and the frontline police officers would at any point or at some point in time arrest him or invite him or interview him. And what you saw yesterday was one of them. But I think in the coming days, many of these things will be settled and the dust will be settled.
Okay. The question then will be, if they went there for arrest, it looks like they were just wishy-washy, as if they wanted to arrest and didn't want to arrest. So if you want the deal done, do it. Then it gives and sends the right sort of communication. This one looks as if it's being just a mere of show of force and harassment, really. What do you think?
I agree with you that, just like I said from the initial stage, once an arrest becomes an option for the NIB, as part of the quality of their due diligence, they will obtain arrest warrant.
Okay.
And once they walk into your premises, nothing stops them from arresting you unless price says the same.
Okay.
Whoever led this operation and whoever sanctioned this operation, their sanctioning regimes and their rules of engagement and their accountability regimes when it comes to some of these national security operations that involve agencies all over the place. This operation was not led by the NIB, and therefore, because I saw NIB, I was passionate about this particular organization that served the interests of the state. I can agree with you. If you want to arrest him, arrest him. If you don't want to arrest him, do what is needed and don't give them the opportunities to bastardize the security agencies. So we'll leave that one for whoever led this particular operation and what the objective is. But I can tell you on the premises of competence and authority, this operation was not led by the NIB. And if the NIB have you on the radar and you have come to security intelligence notice or a crime investigation notice, they will either serve notice of you being looked for or they will invite you. But what betides you when arrest become an option on the table and they have arrest warrant, you will be arrested.
I see. Quite interesting revelations you make there, all backed by your experiences, and then just within the last 12 hours, what your sources have been telling you within the intelligence community, particularly NIB, right? Okay. All right. But Amaprat, here we are. So how would you, based on what has happened yesterday, should the matter be taken forward and addressed?
I will defer to his expertise, right? I'm learning, from listening to everything that he is saying and say that then, again, just sitting in the studio and being faced with what he just educated, myself and everybody else and everything that's happened. And I would assume that what happened yesterday perhaps would be maybe stage 2, of what he was saying about then inviting you to come over. Because we have heard that there's conversation about presenting him this morning at 10. Correct me. That's what we heard. That
that's the assurances that was given by the minority leader, Alex Afonyo-Makin.
Assured that today at 10 o'clock they were going to present, Reverend Tim Forjo to the investigative bodies for the processes to start. So I would assume that what happened yesterday was the invitation process, not the arrest process, if I'm going by what the expert is saying, strictly by what the expert is saying. Then, of course, we can have conversations around the form it took, right? The manner in which we chose to invite him. But let's not forget that we are dealing with a very dramatic side, right? Because I've seen videos on social media where people put... So there was one where, I think it was Nana B who was, walking towards the house. And, of course, very dramatically and, gesticulating, as much as he could about how, human rights and, the chorus, right? So he was doing that. And then the journalist asked him a very categorical statement. He said, "You've been inside. What's going on?" And he shut down. At once, the chorus ended. Everything he was saying came to us. And the guy kept persisting like, "Please tell us. What is going on inside?" Because really, that's what we want to know. We know how you feel. You've told us how you feel. We know that this is the perfect opportunity to make every opportunity to make this government look bad. You will grab it. We know. So you are grabbing it. But all that is well and good. But what is happening inside? And as we sit here, nobody has told us what happened inside. When the men who went to the house, met with the Honorable Intim Forjo, did I say Honorable? Reverend Intim Forjo, and the other members of Parliament. We don't know. We simply don't know. All we know is the drama that unfolded when they now came out of the room after talking to these men and started, screaming about how this is unfair. As to exactly what was said and the exchanges that happened in the room, we don't know. So for all we know, it was simply a matter of, we are here to invite you to come in. Because if what we are hearing from the experts is true, then if they had gone there with the intention of arresting him, he would have been arrested.
Okay.
So I'm just taking my cue from what has been said right now. But you see, then to say that, is the drama really necessary? You see, this, when I come back to this issue of the dust settling, you take every opportunity, to be dramatic. Every opportunity. Let's go and invite him to come for answering. Then you start calling people on social media. I saw all the posts. All of us, let's gather at Reverend's house. I saw all those calling for people to come to the Reverend's house, right? Including the General Secretary of the party. The General Secretary of the party even made a post calling for everybody to rush to Reverend Intim Forjo's house, right? So it's like every opportunity we have, we will use it to enact a very good soap opera, right? And as Ghanaians, we love the drama.
But Amma,
we love the drama.
At the end of the day, the party and the machinery and the leadership have to protect their own, irrespective of the description or the adjective you use, whether it's dramatic or not, in relation to the actions of Reverend Intim Forjo and then the party as well. Do you think that a trap was set for government and government fell into the trap? No,
you see, at the end of the day, and this is what I don't understand about how the NPP is choosing to manage all of this. At the end of the day, the Ghanaian is not, excuse my, frankness this one, the Ghanaian is not a fool.
Why do you say
we are sensible. We can see through it. We've lived through politics all these years, and we are sophisticated enough to see through what's real and what's just chaff. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. How best do you protect your member of parliament and your party than by being responsible? I mean, what better way to show Ghanaians that we have learned our lessons from the way that we behaved that you did not like and you kicked us out? We have learned our lessons. We are going to give you the best opposition you could ever have. We are going to make sure that the real issues are dealt with in this, and we are going to keep this government accountable to you. How best do you do that? Is it not by being a responsible side, by showing that we won't play to the gallery? We won't waste time on non-issues. We will deal with the actual issues. Listen, as a people, Ghanaians, the amount of, excuse my language, wahala that we have. Politics is about bread and butter. People have real issues they are dealing with. People want jobs, right? We are talking about Galamsey. There are real issues that affect the people of this country that we want dealt with. Now, you have an opposition that is deaf to everything, every problem of the Ghanaian, an opposition that has a unique opportunity to keep a government accountable. What is this opposition choosing to do? What is this opposition choosing to do? It's unfortunate that some of us need to remind this opposition to be accountable to the Ghanaian just after they lost an election the way that they did. It's almost as if the NPP just decided to sleep and is refusing to be woken up. It's just, listen, I would ordinarily have no problem with it. I would be rejoicing, and saying that, good, carry on. Ghanaians are watching you, and Ghanaians will remind you of your behavior at the end of 4 years. But you see, we all can't do that. We all can't be irresponsible. We all can't decide to be political animals when there are real issues to be dealt with. Some of us need to be accountable to the Ghanaians. Some of us need to be responsible.
So your opinion is that they are just grandstanding?
It's not even about that. For me, it's worse than grandstanding. For me, they are being... Don't let me do that this morning. All right. But
you are choosing your words carefully.
I'm being very careful.
All right, please wrap up.
I mean, I'm the one who should be responsible. I have to be responsible. For me, it's just us losing focus of what politics should be about, right? For me, politics is not this. It should be about the interests of the people. If you have been elected as a parliamentarian, as a representative of the people, all your actions, everything you do should be geared towards serving the people of this country, you know, and certainly not this. Absolutely not this. I keep watching the whole thing unfold, and I'm so, maybe because I'm new to all of this, it's so ridiculous, you know, for me, every time I'm asked the question, I'm like, I don't want to be talking about this. I don't want to be dealing with this. Like, there are better issues and better things to be dealt with. But let me say this. Even when you take the Constitution, there's the letter and the spirit of the Constitution, right? I believe that for all of us in public spaces, Roland, ourselves included, those of us who work in the media, I still call myself a media person. All of us need to be guided. I'm not a member of Parliament. By our love for states. All of us, in every field, we find ourselves in friends. I laugh at you. In every field, we find ourselves in wherever corner, and in whatever activity we are involved in states. All of us need to be guided, you know, by the Ghanaian. And Susan just said something about apathy, right? About increasingly getting, you know, a population that's apathetic to everything that's happening. Automatically, who loses out? Who loses out? The Ghanaian. And I am 100% convinced in my mind that at the end of all of this, we will see this for the ridiculousness that it is. And I hope that the NPP is happy and ready to deal with the consequences of all of this drama, because there will definitely be a climax. Well, certainly. Definitely. There will be what? A climax. Dr. Susan Edwamako, we've come to this point now. What do you think should be the expectation of both sides? The minority on one side, and I've seen a video even, for example, towards the end, the minority leader is whispering into the ear, was captured by the cameras of Reverend, saying that, what's one year? Do you understand? So what should be the posture now of both sides? Government on one side, led by the president, who said the security agencies, because we're told national security should take over, VNI or NIB in the CID and the other relevant agencies, and then the opposition as well on this matter, so that we come to a closure. Yeah, we definitely need to come to a closure and a conclusion that Ghanaians can take and say, okay, this is exactly what happened. As it says, he's given assurances that he's going to go with the Reverend Ntim Fojo to the security agencies. Reverend can give his intelligence that he got, and the security agencies can, you know, do the investigation and come up with something that we will all be satisfied with and say, yes, this is what really happened, or, you know. I think that love of country must take control, you know. If love of country takes control, both sides would come up with something that leads to the growth of this country, okay? And we would hope that that is what would happen when that cool heads would prevail. It's important that he gives the the evidence he has. The evidence he has. Because so far he hasn't provided any. So far he hasn't. I've heard him on the various media when he's hopping to places. He hasn't provided the evidence. Now that he's availing himself, he should provide the evidence. But it also should be a lesson. And if they find out that he was deceit of a public officer, and that it was just hot air and either saying, maybe the sanctions that go with it should be applied so that it's a deterrent for other people not to do that. I know people are going on and on about freedom of speech, Even in freedom of speech, you must couch your words and expressions carefully so that they are not in a way that they can come back to bite you. You get it? Yes, but freedom of speech also comes with responsibility. You don't want anything that is completely
untoward or false put out there under the banner of free speech. So I think that now that he's availing himself, the security agencies should go, they should do their work. Security agencies don't do their things in what do you call it? No, in the full glare of public. I know that they were saying that why is it that the government spokesman was speaking, etc., etc. But even the security agents, because of who they are and what they do, they don't do the public speaking. But maybe the government should also ensure that they have also political heads in some of these what do you call it? Institutions, and they should be the ones sometimes to speak, so that the government reviews what it is, looks at it and says, okay, you go and whatever you are saying, it's not a political minefield, whatever, it's the truth unvarnished as it is, so that it also looks, it doesn't always look like they are allowing government to talk about it and allow persons like the Reverend Minister to say that government is the one responding and because of that government has something to hide. So we need to take lessons from all this. You understand? Sometimes. So
a lot of lessons to be learned.
Yes, there are a lot of lessons to be learned.
Do you think that as a member of Parliament and then also a ranking on the Defence and Interior Committee, you will describe Reverend John Ntim Fojo's actions as creating fear and panic and then tarnishing the image of the country without providing key evidence at the time when it was needed?
Well, let's say, he says he has it. Now that he's going to the security agencies, let him provide it. Okay. And then let us interrogate that. When after he's provided it and everything, and the security agencies have done their due checks and things like that, and then let us, because I think that, like I said before, he was in a peculiar position to do it on the quiet side, and if nothing had been done, then to take this sort of public thing, that wasn't done, and that we view with a lot of suspicion. Okay, now that he's saying that when he's going there, we will be happy to know that at the end the security agencies can say that whatever intelligence he got, they found out that it led to nowhere, or found out that it was doctored or whatever. Because you can have intelligence that is planted and put out there to look like a fact that is not true. Okay. But we all know, and as grown-ups and that, facts don't necessarily make up the truth. You understand? Facts do not make up the truth. You can have, yes, like she said, fact, you are in the studio. Fact, you came here at 9 o'clock. Fact is that you're sitting behind your table. But
did I really do the work?
Did you really do the work? Okay. You understand? Did you really?
So that's what you mean by facts don't always.
Facts don't always make up the truth, and sometimes you can have facts, but it doesn't necessarily make up the truth. And so sometimes intelligence or whatever, there may be certain facts that, like there was a plane here, all right, it came in, it flew out at the time, it did this, but it doesn't necessarily mean the truth in terms of what was being said. And so we can get to that. We ought to get to that as a country for our own way that we can sleep at night, to know that the government is not allowing things to slip through this country. You understand? Because the drug issue is a big problem, and we don't want it to get even bigger. We are having pharmaceuticals coming into this country, and creating all sorts of mayhem. You've seen the young men, who have taken the what do they call it? Red. Red. And the problem is given us. We definitely don't want huge shipments of cocaine, on our shores and or passing through our country. And so we definitely must get to the bottom
of
this
matter.
But as for the lessons, there are plenty lessons, both on both sides that we must learn, so that these things should become a matter of something that is documented, that later we can read out and admire our heroes, that they didn't do the grandstanding, but they were able to solve the real issues that work against this country. So for me, I think it should be it.
All right. So, Mr. Richie Kumado, what do we do now? What do you think should be the expectation of both sides?
Okay, so this is the last but one stage when you appear before the NACOP and the BNI officers responsible for the investigation. They will take it from there. I told you earlier, for public education purposes, they will verify to confirm whatever claim is making. They will ascertain the truthfulness of it, and they will authenticate the genuineness of the claim. It is also important to know that Chom Berima at the NACOP is a police officer, is a lawyer, is a politician. And the day he said they are getting the last but one stage, people didn't take him seriously. The stage where they are now is either he makes himself available because he claimed he has not been invited. By the actions that happened yesterday in his house, it means that the whole world is knowing that formally or informally, the security agencies are looking for him. If he makes himself available today, they will go through the preliminaries and there will be some few questions for him to answer. From there, if there are some level of irresponsibilities in what he's saying or what he has said, he will be charged. You see, from the depths of democracy and governance rates, democracy can be well managed when we are all accountable and responsible. Because politics is a threat to national security, and actions and inactions of political actors can destabilize the state. So therefore, where we borrow this democracy from, if you look at the way things are done there, politicians or parliamentarians have some level of privileges, but they are not above the law. Why am I saying so? The informant MP is a member of the Defense Committee. He could have issued questions in Parliament for Minister of Interior to come and answer regards to this particular issue. He should have used the committee, and the BNI Director Immigration, IGP, or the National Security Coordinator will go in camera to speak to them because of the sensitivity of what is happening. Because, Roland, guess what? All the investigative works that the BNI or the police and NACOP and co will do, it will end up on the decks of the Attorney General to decide who should be prosecuted, who should not be prosecuted, what sanctions should be applied. When I was working in the BNI goes to court. They employ some of the best lawyers in this country. They go to court. Today, the Attorney General is the #1 prosecutor in this country. He's the #1 law enforcement officer in this country. And the member of parliament knows so well. So when you ask the security agencies to come with the truth, and they are looking for you to have that deliberations, you know that the BNI director will not call a press conference, the National Security Coordinator will not call a press conference, the Director of Immigration will not call a press conference. And because the end product of whatever they do ends up with the Attorney General. And that is the difficulty we are having here. Okay. So when you try to explain it to people that this is politics, and it has nothing to do with professionalism, or it has nothing to do with standard procedure, people must really understand it. Because when we are talking about the professional environment, this is the way it's done. But when you go to the parliament or you go to the political arena, common sense doesn't work there. And that is why we are wasting so much time discussing some of these things where it is pure politics. But let me say this. I can see the passion in the voice of my sister Amma, and my heart goes out to her. No wonder the daddy, all of us, our uncle. Regards to daddy when you go home. I thought I'm the only one who is passionate and compassionate about the development of this country and this democracy work. But hearing you this morning, don't cry, sister. You are welcome to the fort.
All right, no dodges. No dodges here. Mr. Kumado, so do I get inferences from your submission that we've been taken through a roller coaster ride and we seem to be playing along? Is that what you said?
Definitely, because some of the questions my big brothers and sisters in the media ask me, they are aware and they know that this is politics. This is politics. It is not done anywhere in the world. We copied this democracy directly from America. I was in London in 2006 as a student when Tony Blair, who was a sitting prime minister, was arrested by the MI5, MI6. And when they are coming for you, you cannot run away because you have some immunity. No, they are criminals.
Donald Trump had his Mar-a-Lago estate. He had documents from the state.
Because they are criminals all over, including legislator, in judiciary, in everywhere. And that is why nobody is above the law. I am happy that he's getting to the last but one stage where he will meet the professionals who work within the NIB. And once that is done and he has to stand trial, I will be glad to go to that way. If whatever he's saying, but well, let me say this. What people don't know is that Ghana is not a virgin when it comes to cocaine and many of those things. Ghana,
MV
cocaine
Benjamin
has turned into powder. Cocaine has turned into powder in this country before. Parliamentarians and Ghanaians were arrested in the US and in the UK before. Cocaine, there are people, when you mention their name in this country, cocaine is what comes to their mind and certain things. And guess what? With the work the BNI or the NI does, even if the end product of what we are talking about is the president he wants to implicate, Roland, I can tell you that it will be investigated and they will leave the document on the folder for everybody to read. So let nobody say that when you mention the target you have in mind, politicians will go behind the scene. Do you know that, oh Jesus, I'm afraid to say this one. Do you know that everything that happens in this country can be investigated, and including the president, a sitting president? So this is the people we are talking about. Their work is above politics, and their work is above partisanship. These are professionals, well-managed, well-organized institutions. And that is why today, by the grace of God, some of us have become a voice, not just in this country, but across the globe. And we are happy for the BNI. We are happy for the work they do. And I can tell you, we should not destroy the organization. We will be doomed in this democracy.
Mr. Kumado, because you worked at the time that the BNI had been metamorphosed into the National Intelligence Agency, you're still
no, it's the same. Whether you say
Biro, you are still sticking to BNI.
No,
because BNI sends shivers down our spine.
Hold on. Whether you say military intelligence or defense intelligence, the core functions are the same. Whether you say Bureau of National Communication or National Signal Bureau,
they are the same.
The fraud element out, the core functions are the same. Whether you say Bureau of National Investigation or National Intelligence Bureau, the core functions are the same. And I can tell you the names of people manning some of these departments. Some of them hold PhD, and some of them are well trained all over the world. We are not just people who come to the fore and we don't know what we are doing. Please grant us that respect and give us that credence, because we watch your back when everybody is sleeping.
Well, in recent, I haven't seen you being so forthright and straight to the point like today. I think I've loved your submission today. But there's also another Tony issue, and I'm a Pratt. We have to talk about it. It looks like the government of John Mahama seemed to have changed its stance. As part of the 120-day promise and the campaign, they said they'll repeal the airline. They haven't. Now, Mutaka Mubarak, the Minister for the Interior, is saying that the John Mahama Nana Jinopokwa government is saying, well, instead of prosecution of foreigners caught in Galamsey, they have to be deported. What's the policy direction? Is the minister contravening what the main policy direction of the government is?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, so just to say that I've taken his advice, and I will not, I will try not to cry. You know. So here's what: if anybody has been principled with the Galamsey issue, I would say it's been this government.
How?
Okay. So I was looking for, and I hope that once it goes round and comes back to me, I would have had the opportunity to find, you know, the, what do you call it, the line of action, so to speak, from the Parliamentarians conference that was held, you know, sometime in February, you know, when this government started working seriously. So all of this conversation is coming off the back of a comment that was made, you know, by the minister. And for me, it sounds like a conversation opener, right?
I don't understand.
I'm getting to it. So he has assumed office.
He categorically says that the judiciary cannot be trusted.
If you may, he has assumed office. He has, you know, taken on a new file, a portfolio. He's gone into, you know, the issues. He's looked at, and it's always great to have the benefit of hindsight, isn't it? You've seen what exists, you know, in the what's it called, the space. All of us as active players in this fight against Galamsey have had issues with how prosecutions have been handled over time. All of us have had cause to question why or how it is that you accost Galamseyers, if there's a word like that. You want to take them through the process, and somehow, you know, they escape through the cracks somehow. For me, this is a minister who is simply questioning, so to speak, what exists and how to get around it. So he's maybe like all of us, also speaking out of frustration. You sort of accost these people, you take them through the process. It doesn't work, you know, at least in the past it didn't work. And then it's a ridiculous cycle, you know, that cycle. So for me, how I understand is, because let's be clear, there has been no official, you know, government position on this, unless you know of one that I don't know about.
Well, the official government position, as we know, is that the LI will be repealed.
I was coming to that. I want to start from the conversation with the minister, and then we'll come to the LI. Please hold on. Let's do this, you know,
and then criticizing Asafo Mafo when he said the Aisha 1 incident. So that's, we know that is the official position of government.
It's the minister's, how do I say it? And let's take it back a note. When the Honorable Amakofi-Boa assumed office, in the first week of his assuming office, he called a press conference. He did what the minister is doing too. He lamented, you know, this is what I came to meet. This is the situation, this is the situation, this is the situation. But beyond that, he said, I will need every stakeholder to come on board with me so we can solve this. I intend to do this, I intend to do this, I intend to do that. And then subsequently we had, you know, that that conference of parliamentarians at which certain key timelines were given for certain key activities. And I wanted to go over those activities one by one. If you give me the opportunity, no, hold on. When we come back, I'll do that.
The next round.
Just to say that this government has a principled position. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama said in opposition while campaigning that I will not bend down the excavators. That conversation is still raging. He hasn't changed his position on that, right? He is still exactly what he said in opposition. It's exactly what he's still saying in government. I have heard some ministers say that, can we sort of tweak that conversation? Can we look at the functions, the positioning of these excavators and decide which ones to perhaps ban, which ones to not ban, which one? We are going to go back to His Excellency and speak with him and see how we can sort of balance out his principle and what exists on the ground, which I think is what the minister is saying. Okay. That, I mean, this is what the law says. At the end of the day, all of us are going to be guided by the law. This government is not going to go and act outside of the confines of the law. This is a conversation. Can we simply send them back to where they came from? Can we simply do that?
That is a Chinese.
It's a conversation for me.
Because?
And all of us are having that conversation.
Why
At the end of the day,
that?
Because we want results. I'm thinking for the minister, right? I'm trying to, like all of us are doing, trying to put myself in his shoes. I don't have the full facts that he has. I don't know, you know, what information has been given to him for him to make such statements. But at the end of the day, we are having the conversations, which is important. But ultimately, again, it is the law that will guide all of our actions going forward.
Dr. Susan Edu-Amakwa, we've come to this position because we know what the position of the leadership of the government is. The president, the vice president, everybody else. Now, if you have the minister saying that, look, processes for prosecution become laborious, at the end of the day, the accusations are that we're told that it's even somehow by way of what the opinion and the position is been endorsed by one of the leading, Erastus says that this also could be one of the ways, etc. That because the judiciary and then the security apparatus, they will do the arrest, the prosecution, somehow the people just go through and then they either back on the field or travel out and come back. Deportation first, and then the prosecution is also ongoing alongside. How do you synchronize this? I mean, in relation to what the key communication was pre-December 2024?
Actually, when I first saw this headed
on social media,
I wasn't too sure that he actually said that, because.
But you've seen the video.
No, I haven't seen the video. But I was like, did he actually say that? A friend of mine laughed and said that, yes, they said we'll give them mascatella and send them back to their country because we are a travel agency and they came to do tourism. Hey!
No, he didn't.
No, I mean, no, I'm not saying that, but in effect, that's what he said. I mean, hey,
so
okay.
The person was saying that sarcastically.
Yes, the person was saying that sarcastically. But, I mean, really, if what he is saying here, we are not interested in prosecuting people who are destroying our environment and who are defrauding people across the globe. What we want is, we want to take them back to their country. Hey, really? I mean, did he actually say this? I was shocked to the core, to be honest, because these are what? Environmental terrorists. And I think I've heard the Minister for Lands even also echo that. These are environmental terrorists. You understand? These are people who are not just doing the present generation wrong, they are doing generations unborn wrong. You get it? By their recklessness and greed and what have you. Everything bad to this environment. And all we are going to do is to deport them. Well, I mean, we think, no. If Ghanaian jails are good enough for Ghanaians, they are good enough for any other human being. You get it? They must be prosecuted and thrown in jail, and the keys thrown away. Till I always say that till the water is clear and till the land is restored, those people must remain in jail. Nobody should give them a free pass. They've gone past go past jail in this and cry. You understand? Once it is proven that they are destroying the environment, they are engaged in illegal mining, the key must be thrown away. The Chinese will not tolerate it for their citizens. They will definitely not tolerate it for foreigners. We are going to just do exactly that. We are also global citizens, okay? In this country, in the scheme of things. We will not let criminals just go. You understand? They should go to their country and continue their criminal activities there. No. We are global citizens here. We want the best for this world because these are people who will go and continue anywhere else that they think that they find gold. We will jail them. And if this honorable minister, this is actually the stand, he's not doing this government any good. Because we know what this government said before they came into in
relation
power.
to Galamsey.
You understand? In relation to Galamsey. And we believe that this is not going to help the fight. When Aisha Wan was deported, she came back to continue her criminal activities till we threw her in jail, which I hope she still is there. You understand? Paying back for her crimes against this country. So anybody who commits a crime against this generation and the generations to come, look, we will have water wars. Even before we began to destroy our water bodies, people had done research in the world to know that the next wars will be over water. And
due to its scarcity,
due to its scarcity. And even this was long before we started destroying our water bodies at the rate in which we are destroying them. Look at the evidence out there of the diseases, of the illness, of the death of flora and fauna that we will probably never get again. You understand? That our children's children will not come and meet. Look, there is no way we must have sympathy for such people by just deporting them to their country and continue this thing. We must prosecute them and throw them in the Ghanaian prisons. If Ghanaian prisons are good enough for Ghanaians, they are good enough for any other human being on this earth. This one, it won't fly. It won't fly at all. It definitely won't fly.
So we have the description. I'm shocked by the Interior Minister's statement. Dash. Well, so see how that goes. But we've been joined by the coordinator for eco-conscious citizens, and they are a CSO as well, especially conservation environment. Awula Sewa. Good morning.
And good morning, and thank you for having me.
How do you relate the minister's conversation within the bigger picture about the actions that are being taken, and then also the ongoing, it looks like, again, destruction of the environment by Galamseyers? even though the government says it's fighting it?
Well, as we've always said, for a fight to be effective, you need the political will. I'll base everything by saying that when His Excellency, the President, was in opposition, he said if the NPP didn't do it, when they came to power, they would revoke LI 2462, which is what is permitting mining in forest reserves. Unfortunately, that is not what has been laid before Parliament. What has been laid before Parliament is an amendment, not a revocation of the perverse piece of legislation. So that is very disappointing to start with. You said you do one thing, and that's not what you're doing. It's not a revocation, it's an amendment, which still allows virtually unfettered access to our forest reserves. So that's one thing. Now, talking about this astonishing announcement that when somebody has come and these environmental terrorists, as we call them, have come and destroyed our forest reserves or poisoned our landscape and water bodies, what we'll do is say, thank you very much. We're giving you a free flight back to your country. This is absolutely, first of all, illegal because the Mining and Minerals Act amendment does not permit you to do so. And apart from that, it's discriminatory. What about the Africans who are also involved in illegal mining? Are they going to be prosecuted? And why not the foreigners? So apart from it being illegal, it's discriminatory, and it sends a very negative signal. You are telling people that don't worry, you can come and mine illegally in Ghana. The worst thing that will happen to you is that we'll give you a free flight back to your country. And then your borders are so porous that you can return, as Aisha Wan did. And having said that, has anybody checked our jails to find out whether she's still actually in jail or whether she has walked out again? So this is what I would say, that if we are really interested in fighting against illegal mining, this is absolutely not the way to go. Absolutely not the way to go.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you describe the fight so far by the government? Because you have enumerated, and we have also noted, they promised to repeal, and now it's an amendment. And the president, you go by the constitution, is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Indeed, has oversight control, executive powers to control the security services. So when we want a blanket clamp down, and he has the powers, right? How would you rate the fight so far, his effort, based on the promise that is made, 0 to 10?
What I would say is that instead of, doing the 0 to 10, I would say that Ghanaians are waiting anxiously for him to do the right thing. And the window of opportunity to do the right thing is closing. There is environmental terrorism going on, ecocide. We are being poisoned. And rather than take robust action, we are coming up with one thing after the other, which doesn't go to the heart of the matter. Before the election, CSOs and organized labor, Catholic Bishop Conference, so many people came together and said, declare a state of emergency. Apart from being poisoned, there are also national security concerns. Parts of our country are becoming no-go areas. We don't want to sink to the level of some Latin American countries where the drug cartels control parts of the country and the army can't go there. It didn't start overnight. It's what is happening here. We're not doing anything about it. So I would say that there's been a lot of talk. We hear that some forest reserves have been reclaimed, but those same forest reserves, forest rangers have been attacked. One is fighting for his life. So I'm not quite sure what is happening. We have brave journalists like our brother Erastus Asare Donko and others who have put their lives on the line, who every day give us reports about what is going on. But what action is being taken? We know the Ankombra River has been diverted. What action is being taken? So I would say that we are, as we speak, disappointed. And I know that organizations are getting ready to have their voices heard on 1st May. If the government doesn't convince us that it's not musical chairs we voted for, but a real change. Resetting means resetting. We want a change in the situation. What is happening? We are spiraling out of control.
Okay. Mr. Kumado, what's your conclusion on these observations so far? The minister's comments, and just as a wrap-up for you. In 2 minutes, please.
No, I think this is something government would need to look at. Some of the ministers are speaking on separate platforms, and they are saying things that do not have convergence criteria. You remember the Minister for Lands said, these are terrorists. You do not, under any circumstance, deport terrorists. Because we know that non-punishable of offenses will rationalize bad behavior and promote antisocial tendencies in society. Then the Minister of Interior, responsible for public safety and public safety challenges and assurances, do not educate the general public and say, we are deporting these people, and the general public is not aware whether there are modalities for checking them for not coming back again, or their cronies to not come back again. And with the experience of Ashawan, that is why many people are holding government accountable. And I think those statements would need to be watched again, and coupled with the fact that election promises we will repeal the act. Personally, I think that act needs to be repealed. A new one needs to come in, new energy, new direction, new directive. Then you have the Minister of Environment saying that, President, your directive says don't burn the excavators, but the excavators are developing wings and they are flying all over the place. That will be counterproductive to the fight against the galamseyers. They will need to look at it again from the point of Minister of Interior, who is responsible for public safety and public assurances, then environment, then that of the lands minister. Until they are able to do that, many of the statements they have made do not have any criteria, then that is why the problem.
Thank you very much, Richard Kumado, and helping us do that. And then I'm a Pratt as well, but unfortunately our time is up.
I just wanted to
time is up.
that I agree with all the sentiments that have been expressed
let me give the last.
Repeal the law.
Let me give the last bite to Sawa Awula Sawa. Good morning.
Roland.
Again, continue. Wrap up for me.
2 seconds.
But I think that the last speaker has put it very well. The forest persons are telling us that if you don't burn the excavators, it's so they remove the motherboard. It's so expensive to move them. So if you really want to have this situation arrested, you need to either burn the excavators or make sure that you have the low loaders, whatever it takes to remove them. Otherwise, they continue causing damage. So we really need to listen to the forest rangers, the Forestry Commission, get them, listen to what they have to say, and don't just make pronouncements which don't, don't have a bearing on what is going on. We face an existential threat, and we must declare a state of emergency in order to protect our forest reserves, our land space, and also our water bodies. Water is life.
Okay.
They have been walked over water, and at the rate at which we are going, we are soon going to face a catastrophe, and we need to arrest it yesterday. The next best time now. Thank you.
Coordinator, eco-conscious.
Right.
Thank you so much. And that'll be our wrap up. Our time is up.
Oh, Roland.
There's a petition going around asking people to sign for the repeal of the law. Please.
Roland, just to say categorically that government is on the side of all the sentiments that have been expressed. Everything that has been said here is spot on. It is an existential problem. Government is fully aware of that. I was going to give you all the timelines of activities that have been, earmarked to fight galamsey and to show that all of these activities are right on time. Everyone, to the last one, don't worry, is going to get fixed.
Amma Pratt, thank you very much. Spokesperson for Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. How is she?
She's well. She's well. She's well.
Dr. Susan Iduamanko as well. But please, make sure you join us. We have cash out. It goes with a short code *439#, and then become one of those relevant people who will be lucky. And for all those who are at the Stevens Hotel in the Volta Regional Capital, Bless, and the rest of the team as well, Prissy, please, we'll wish you all the best as well. Make sure you cash out *439#, become one of those lucky winners, and then be part of all the things that are good when it comes to cash out *439#. Taking a break. We'll be right back.